Hello, entrepreneurs, and welcome to another episode of the Possibility Partner Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, your Chief Possibility Officer, and you can find me here every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, sharing Andelicious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. And these are wonderful conversations with seasoned and experienced entrepreneurs sharing their wisdom and their best tips, tools, and advice to help you and your business grow and thrive. And whether you're a solopreneur or you're a small business owner with dozens of employees, you know that this role of CEO and owner of and captain of your own ship can be very isolating. So I'm really thrilled that you have tuned into the Possibility Partner Show, because this is a great and safe space for you to grab some of those core ingredients that are needed for your journey: the tenacity, the resilience, the courage, and that special one, oh so delicious, hope. Because here we are, entrepreneurs holding hands, cheering each other on, whether we're celebrating or something new and wonderful, or really, you got to celebrate those times where you fall down and you blow it, because those are the best learning moments. So we're not here to judge. We're here to lift you up and each other up while we're holding hands and cheering each other on this wonderful journey we've been compelled to go on, the entrepreneurial adventure. And please stay connected with me at my website, andelyons.com, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that way you'll be updated with all the newest shows and any of my other posts sharing the entrepreneurial adventure. So today, oh my gosh, very special guest that I get to share with you, and I'm so thrilled and honored. She is known throughout the world as an authority and leadership mentor, as a relationship mentor, and that's both personal and in team building and other corporate ways. And I am honored because I get to call her dear friend and wonderful buddy here online. It's the remarkable Blair Glazer. Please, everybody, join me in welcoming this phenomenal entrepreneur. Hello, Blair.
Thank you, Ande. I think you've frozen.
I think we're all freezing at some point. Wow. Hold on.
Are you back?
I am here. Are you here?
I'm here. You froze.
Excellent. That's okay. Everybody knows that we've had some tech challenges here on the platform, but we're going to get right into the meat of things here today. Good. Blair, you have so many remarkable things to say about authority. And as entrepreneurs, it's so important for us to step into our authority. But before we get there, we have to talk about your background. Because viewers, Blair, oh my gosh, what a phenomenal and fascinating start to her professional career she had. So Blair, start and share with everybody.
Well, I think that you're talking about how I wanted to be an actress, which I studied for many years. And I ended up getting into this online world by writing for Playbill on. And while I was at that job, I realized that I didn't want to be an actress anymore. I was in some off Broadway show. It was not very good. I was not very good. And it was time to shift. And I realized after studying acting at that point for maybe it was 16 years, I mean, I started when I was 8 years old, that I was going to be using acting in some kind of healing format. And I started by teaching. And that's when I started this column on Playbill Online called Ask Blair. And as you said to me earlier before we started, that I created a blog before I knew what one was, and I wish I knew what I know now then about it. But that was the beginning of being an entrepreneur, when I decided that I was going to carve out a path for who I was and what I wanted to bring to the world. And then I thought I invented drama therapy. And I discovered that there was actually a graduate program where you could study drama therapy and get a degree in it. And I am a licensed New York creative arts therapist.
That is so cool. I love that. And of course, you took the drama that you learned as an actress and
That's
you
right.
took it into a healing and therapeutic way. And one of the things that I think is so remarkable in how you have contributed to the world, Blair Glazer, is the work that you did with the V-Day celebration. Would you share with folks a little about that?
Absolutely. V-Day is an organization that is aimed to stop violence against women and girls. And through working at Playbill Online, I went to see Eve Ensler in a couple of shows. One of them was the Vagina Monologues. And back in the 90s in New York City, it was a revolutionary piece of theater that completely struck me to the core. At that point, Andy, I had been engaged in a lot of personal growth work. As an actor, first of all, you're very self-obsessed. So you spend a lot of time studying your own and others' behavior. But I also had engaged in a lot of deep personal work by that point, and I had not really taken into account my own body at that point, really my own sexuality. And it really struck me, and I realized that a lot of other women were having a similar reaction. And I was able to connect with Eve. And in working for the organization and writing for the organization, I thought it would be terrific to help women write their own vagina monologues. And I created that workshop and ran it for about 6 years in New York, at Omega, in Los Angeles, in Santa Fe.
Wow, I think that's so incredible because it really helps women be even more empowered, and it, is a wonderful thread into your whole leadership and authority role as a mentor as well. And also, the other thing about you, Blair, is your ability to facilitate and teach. That's a remarkable skill set. How did you know that about yourself?
You know, when I graduated Northwestern for theater, we were all sitting around with my theater teacher, and we were saying, where do you see us in 10 years? And he said, oh, I see you here. And he looked at me and said, you're going to be a teacher. And I was so mad. But that's always just been a part of how I actually relate to people. Somehow this word authority, which I've been moving into, has been waiting for me. It's always been available to me. Something about the way that I take knowledge in and then have a great desire to share it with other people has been a big theme in my life and in my work.
Well, what I love about you is you've been very successful as a solopreneur, Blair, but you're also very candid with folks about the challenges of being a solopreneur. Share a little about that.
Well, when I was doing the Vagina Monologues workshop, I was in private practice as a therapist, and life was good. I had speaking arrangements. I was teaching full time. I was having a regular income that I could rely on, because therapy, which I no longer do in that strict form, is a weekly thing. So as I began to grow and grew out of really psychology is the only way to help people move forward and heal, and I began to step more into a corporate environment, everything started to change. A lot of clients that I had seen for 6, 7, even 9 years began to grow up. They began to move on. So my private practice shifted, and coaching is every other week, really. Coaching and mentoring I do every other week. I would get nice gigs with corporate trainings, but then I wouldn't get one for a long time. So that's been a recent struggle of mine that has really given me a lot of compassion for what it means to be an entrepreneur and a solopreneur, the ups and downs, the cycles that we all go through and have to bear patience with, and find ways to navigate, find ways to financially plan.
Well, and I love that on your website, you actually talk to people and share with people how to launch a solo practice, right?
Yes, for a number of years, I was telling therapists and coaches mostly how to really create a good platform for them to start building from, in ways to talk to people and who to talk to in order to be on the top of the mind for people to send your way.
That's great information, right, folks? I mean, it's one thing to be launching a traditional small business, but a solo practice and a solo consulting gig, etc., is a whole different ball of wax, so to speak. Blair, share with folks the difference between coaching and mentoring, because you're an authority mentor and a leadership mentor. What does that mean?
Sometimes they look similar. It can all come down to semantics. So I want to say that. But if you look at a coach, if we're going in, like, let's say, a sports paradigm, You're setting very specific goals, and you are getting the accountability and, if you will, the cheerleading and the push to get to those goals. That's how I've seen coaching. There is also emotional coaching that people do, which is more along the lines of the mentoring that I offer. It's not only helping you achieve goals, which is a piece of it. As a mentor, I do give advice. I am in a co-creative process with you. I'm interested in looking at where you're moving towards, and if that changes, what makes it change, what things are emerging in you that would steer you in a different direction, and whether or not those things are really useful to follow at this time. So again, there are some coaches that may say that those are things that they do, but I really find that as a mentor, I do feel free to give advice, reflections. I enter, into a real partnership, as I like to say again, a co-creation.
I love that. And folks, is this Andelicious advice or what? I am so fired up. Blair has a way of delivering her words and her thoughts and her ideas that are so impactful. And right, everybody? I think we can all agree to that. Be sure to check out her brand spanking new website, blairglazer.com. Oh my gosh, we must take a moment just to celebrate Blair. Round of applause for rebranding, doing a whole new website. Come on, entrepreneurs out there, you can all understand and empathize on that journey. How's that been for you, Blair?
It's really, I'm getting used to, as I've gone through a number of these kinds of things, the crunch that comes before the launch, all of the things that go wrong that seem to be slipping through your fingers, how you have to collect yourself and keep moving forward, how you have to prioritize sometimes at every moment internally, what's really worth getting upset over. So, and of course the excitement, just allowing that excitement to move through has been really an enjoyable part of this.
And so, because the website you had begun with several years ago, you felt you had evolved out of, and it was time, right?
I'm too fast for my budget, and too fast. When I think it was like 3.5 years ago, I just got very serious about writing a blog. I really wanted to express my ideas to an audience through a blogging platform. And I had a rebrand, and I talked about love and leadership as being the themes of my work, which in some ways they still are. But as I was participating in the leadership space, something about it didn't quite feel right to me. And I think that there's a way in which, because we have so much advice about leadership, it starts to become formulaic. It starts to be a little bit canned. And I'm really interested in helping people have a self-discipline so that they can understand their own leadership. And I call that authority, personal authority.
Yeah. Hey, I want to take this moment, Blair, just to bring up a few comments, but also to remind our live viewers, I am going to take the link to this room. After I hit end broadcast, I'm going to put in the comment section. And really do yourself the favor and give yourself the gift of joining us in the green room. It's unrecorded. You can leave the video portion, shut off. We don't have to see you. We can just see your profile photo. This is an amazing opportunity to build your visibility, credibility, and increase awareness about you and your work, while also engaging with like-minded folks and building deeper relationships here. So I really encourage all of you to join in what I call is the Afterglow chat. And we have a delicious conversation with Blair, with myself, and the folks in the room provide so much value as well. So I hope we see you at the end of the show. Now, here's a wonderful quote I'm going to bring up from Pamela. Comment. Pamela says, art is all about truth. Vagina Monologues is therapy, entertainment, and self-respect. Wow, Pamela, I love that comment. Thank you. And of course, our wonderful Dave Moore. Every single word spoken here is dipped in authenticity and delicious and Blair delicious stuff. Thank you, Dave.
I think it said Blairdacious, actually.
Blairdacious. Thank you, Blair. You're absolutely right. Blairdacious. Thank you, Dave Moore, for that. And I have one more I want to bring up here. Deborah Oakland says, authority has been a big theme in Blair Glazer's work. Coaching, setting goals, accountability is key. Mentoring, giving advice, co-creating, making needed changes that are of value to follow. Mentoring is a partnership. What a lovely recap of what Blair was saying, Deborah Oakland. Thank you so much for that. So let's get into stepping into authority and how your tagline used to be excel in leadership. And you talked about that a little, but let's go a little deeper into why the big rebrand for authority, that it was time for you to leave leadership, that format of leadership behind, and go deeper in why authority is attractive and in some cases very sexy.
Okay, let me answer this from a few angles. One is, as I was sharing, leadership space for me has just become a little bit crusty. That's not to say that leadership isn't fabulous and wonderful, and there's so many great teachers about it out there. For me, I kept bouncing up against something that didn't actually feel authentic to me. But authority is really exciting for me for two reasons. One is people don't necessarily distinguish between personal leadership and professional leadership. And I think that authority has a wonderful way of distinguishing the two. Professional authority comes directly from the job you are hired to do. It comes from the role that you step into when you are connected to that job. Personal authority comes from being the author of your own life. Standing in your own authorship, saying, I'm going to write this story the way I want it to go, given what I can control.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's give some examples then. On the professional side, what you did, you said, what you're hired to do, your job.
That's right. So if you are a leader or a manager, most of the time, part of your job is getting other people to do their work. So people who are trying to be good leaders and want to be kind and nice may find it very difficult to follow that task, to stand in their authority and find creative ways to get people to do their work. You don't have to be authoritarian, which is an adjective that is a big no-no in leadership and professional authority, really. But you are authorized by that role to find ways to get people to do their work. That's part of your job. So in a way, when we talk about authority that's professional, it's not as personal. It's not as personal. You just find ways to do the task of the job.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just want to dip the toes quickly into the word authority, Blair, because a lot of people see authority as license and registration, ma'am. Hands up. And if we aren't clear about the true nature of authority, we can prevent ourselves from stepping into our authority and having a deeper relationship with our authority because we'll think it's a bad thing. Yeah?
That's right. Well, parents, teachers, cops, and politicians all abuse their authority. They do not stay connected to the jobs that are delegated to them, and they find ways to enact in some really, to make some really poor choices and bad power dynamics. And that gives authority a very bad rap. But when you are in relationship to authority as something outside of yourself, it is very difficult to find a place where you are not a victim. And when you are mostly in victim, it's difficult to create the story, the narrative of a life that you want. You feel unauthorized to make your desires a reality.
Ooh, I really like that. You feel unauthorized to make your desires a reality. Wow. Okay, so let's move out of the professional thread of authority and into the personal thread. Do you have an example of that, Blair?
So many. I have a quote in the ebook from Amy Purdy, who is a quadriplegic, and she just had this come to whatever moment where she said, what is the story that I want to tell? What is the story that I want to tell? Does she want to, she's a beautiful woman. She was on Oprah's Soul Sunday or something like that recently. But she got herself together and has run marathons and dance-a-thons, and she's had a life of rich vitality and adventure, even with her limitations. That's a fabulous story for me, and because of the question that she asked herself, what's the story I want to tell? All right, I'm a quadriplegic, what's the story I want to tell? Or paraplegic, I'm not sure which, but
Yeah, and you see the commercials, I think, of her on TV. Just wonderful, wonderful woman, and a great example. And I think too that we know it in relationships. How many times have you looked at your darling, and when they've been really rocking in their authority, you were like, dang, that's sexy.
Yes.
That's where the sexy comes in.
Yes, yeah. So that's the second part. The second part is that I've done a lot of work with people in personal relationships as well as professional, but in the personal relationship realm, if we can find a way to co-create in our relationships and to stand in our desires, to find ways to tell a different story with our partner, to find ways to lead from parts of ourselves that aren't all about our woundedness, that becomes attractive. And that becomes the grounds for good relating. Say that you can be in intimate authority without losing yourself.
Right, and it's not like I'm the boss of you authority.
No, 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 no. This is two people each standing in their desires unapologetically.
Wow, we have so many comments. Let me just bring up a few here. We have Kim who says self-discipline equals self-leadership. That's the most appealing, or should I say Blairdacious definition of the word I've ever heard. Thank you. Full of delicious possibilities. Wow, Kim, thanks for that wonderful comment. And then Nikki here across the pond says, I think personal authority also comes from being totally comfortable and confident in your own skin. Authority follows on naturally. Blair?
Well said. Absolutely. That's part of the sexiness of it. That's part of the sexiness of it. You're comfortable in your own skin, and it proves to be very attractive.
And then Charlotte, one of my practically neighbors down the road here in Massachusetts, Blair, personal authority comes from standing in the something of your own life. What was it that you were saying?
I think I said authorship.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that makes sense, Charlotte, given what you do for work. Woohoo! Okay, so moving right along, let's say I have a client that needs to scale their business. With my mentoring CEOs that I do, and they are sitting there going, oh, I'm so comfortable in how everything is running right now. I know who all my vendors are. I know everything. I've got all my people are lined up, but scaling is going to have to require my raising money, getting new vendors, because I'm going to be growing out of the capability of my current vendors. Not only that, but trying to get all my VPs on board with this scaling. How would you mentor that CEO to step into his or her authority?
The very first thing that I would say is what is the reason for the growth? What are you following? Are you following a vision? Are you following a desire to impact the world in a different way with your business or your brand? Are you following a desire for a bigger lifestyle? Are you following a desire for more impact or presence? Because if you can connect with the why rather than just growing because growth is automatically an American or sometimes European thing, Western thing to do, that will help ground you through the, as you said, inevitable chaos of phase shifts.
Right, and that's so key, because we do want our businesses to grow, but sometimes just the thought of having to make those changes and be even more of a leader and someone stepping into their authority, it's absolutely critical to grow your business, though. You write for so many platforms, Blair. I mean, you're on the Good Men Project, you're on Your Tango. Where else are you sharing your expertise?
Let's see. I have a few pieces on scattered across. I have one on Rebel Society, which is a yoga-y, woman-y site. I've written for Digital Romance. I write a lot for my own blog.
Oh yeah, everybody, you've got to sign up for Blair's blog, by the way. It is so impactful. She has such a way with words and the written word. Sorry to cut you off like that, Blair, but it's so true. And
So,
and you go back and forth. You really, one minute you're talking about the professional side, and then you're talking about the relationship side. And, again, I want to bring up why it's important in our relationships for us to really understand the authority side of things, standing and how it enables us to be better.
let's go back to your CEO who wants to scale and create a bigger business. Let's say that that CEO gets connected with some investors that have the power to make the company more of a global thing. And now the CEO is going to have a larger presence. And that person is also in a relationship. There's no way that that growth isn't going to impact the personal relationship. The way that we change when we have to take on a bigger role, our time responsibilities, the things that we have to think about in terms of how we are interacting on a broader scale with other people and standing in our authority, that has an impact on the relationship. If you guys are used to life a certain way and being small, it's going to feel very awkward to move to such a broad platform and then come home and sort of be in that same you that you're not anymore. So I really believe in finding ways to have conversations that don't have to be that uncomfortable once you get used to them, about who we are, who we want to be, what happens as we're changing, what kind of new things do we need to create in our relationship to allow who we're becoming to evolve, how can we relate to each other that's different. This can feel scary, but it also can keep the relationship on its toes and create a vitality that gets us out of that suburban doldrum thing that happens when we're just, married and have the kids and going to their son still has soccer on Saturdays and date night on Fridays. It has a way of keeping things moving.
Yeah, and what about the dance of authority? Because, my darling man, he's great at some things, I'm great at the other. We don't need to butt heads, right? We can allow the other person to lead, so to speak, in the dance.
No, I thank you for bringing that up, because one of my trademarks in the course that I'm going to be teaching called Intimate Authority is actually discussing those roles, is actually saying, look, for example, in my relationship, I'm the chief kitchen officer. I like shopping. I like knowing what's in the cupboards. I do most of the cooking, but I also need my partner to know how to clean up and where to put things. And, it's just the way we work. And if I don't feel like cooking, then I can delegate. I can say, all right, you take this one tonight. So, in the kitchen, I'm the boss. What are you going to do? But we've made that explicit so we don't get into power struggles about it. And I recommend that couples do that down the line in their relationship. There's one parent that's usually more involved in certain aspects of parenting. There's one person that's usually the social director of the relationship and makes the plans. I've heard of, actually, I was very influenced by my mentor who made his wife the CFO of their relationship, stopped all fighting about money. All fighting about money stopped.
Wow. It's so powerful. In your work and in your life, they're intertwined, folks. And this is why understanding authority and stepping in so that you're not kind of wishy-washy, loosey-goosey, well, whatever, and then built up resentments. Again, in the workplace or in your own life, it's key. I have to bring up another Dave Moore quote here, comment, because it's really wonderful. And everybody in the threads loved it too. Here we go. The best relationships are not 50-50, in my opinion. They are 100%, 100%. When together, we should be 100% there. Blair?
Wonderful. I love it. How can you argue with that? How? What's there to say?
Exactly. It was a great round of applause. I just love the live viewers' comments today, Blair. When we get off the show, and folks who are watching the replay, take a moment if you can to hop onto the event invite, because it really, the comments that are being added to this conversation are so powerful and so valuable. Blair, share with us your new free ebook, which is on your new website front page. Share.
Okay, it's called 4 Ways to Step into Your Authority Now, even if you're feeling a little hopeless, frustrated, or broke. And I think I got the order of those last 3 things a little different, but really it's 4 easy quick ways. It's a quick read. And it's just 4 guidelines of how, if you're feeling any of those things, you can just navigate yourself back into a place of feeling that you are in your own authorship.
I love that. And I'm crazy about that title, because a lot of times we do the whole someday I'll thing, whereby we go, well, when I'm not broke, I'm going to, or when I'm not feeling frustrated, I'm going to. So this is a really quick and easy guide to get you, no matter where you are feeling. And sometimes it can be all those in one day, right, women?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And
Thanks.
so be sure to hop over to blairglazer.com and sign up. You'll be so glad you do, because I have to tell you, I get Blair's blogs and I read every word. They're that powerful and they're that important to my day and my work. Not just because I love her something fierce, but because her work is amazing. So Blair, what looks exciting on the horizon for you and your business?
First of all, the new site, which is on its way to being really fully launched, has been a labor of love, and I'm so excited to share it with all of you and anybody who comes to visit. And I have a course. I ran a course last year called Lovers and Leaders, and it was a 4-week live webinar course. Well, I've put it all online into a new course called Intimate Authority, where, to honor Dave Moore, it's about being 100 and 100 in the relationship. And it's a 7-week course on how to co-create a dynamic and drama-free relationship without losing yourself. And I've been working on it for a long time, and I'm so excited to share it with people. As I share it with my clients, my couple clients, as I share it with my single clients, as I've been sharing it with my friends, they're just resonating. They're saying, oh, this makes so much sense. And it's very different than a lot of the relationship advice out there. So not only is it having an impact and helping people clean things up, but it also seems to be inspiring hope, and there's a freshness about it, which I'm very happy about. I'm very proud of. So I hope you'll check that out. It's under course.
It's under courses on the website?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put the link into the archives. You know, folks, our significant relationships are the key to our success in business. You know, this is where we need to give the most nurturing and the most attention, because our businesses can become a focal point for us, and that's never healthy in maintaining a balanced business. You've got to keep the home life and your personal life humming along, as well as your business humming along. So Blair, thank you for that, and thank you for having that course, because it's so important for all of us. What is it about your work that you love the most?
Oh God, that's such a good question. I'm in awe of my clients. I really am. They come to me, they share things that are not easy to share. They display incredible courage. And then they are open to receive what it is, what mirroring, what advice, whatever it is that I have to offer. And then they make use of it in their own way, in their own authority. And then change happens.
Wow, what a beautiful honoring statement. Thanks, Blair.
It's the best job in the world. It's the best job in the world.
And that's how we all want to feel about our work. So that's wonderful. I really resonated with it, and I really get that from you. Thank you. Folks, you can connect with Blair, Google+, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, which is really where I met Blair 3.5 years ago at my favorite bar. And we've built up this lovely friendship over the years. Yeah, this is the best part about social media and about getting to know our fellow folks online in meaningful ways. Next week, now that's going to be April 27th at 1 p.m., I am having Andrea Beltrami, the DIY badass branding goddess herself, on the show. And for those of you on Google+, you know how fun, we call her Dre, can be. So I hope you can all join me next week on the Possibility Partners Show at 1 p.m. to hear more. In the meantime, please check out Blair's work at blairglazer.com. Ooh and ah over her website. We're here to celebrate each other as entrepreneurs. And I think it's always a huge undertaking when we rebrand and reinvent ourselves in an even deeper way in our work. Blair, any last words you'd like to share with folks before I wrap up?
Yes, I just want to thank you so much for having me on the show, for being here on such a momentous day as we're getting this website into a live position. And you are just, as we like to say, the goddess of G+ and other online areas. So I'm glad we met at our favorite bar too.
Yay! Well, let's take a moment and wave hello to folks and blow kisses, mwah, mwah, mwahs, to folks who swung by and said, I'm going to be there in the replay, Andy, but I've got somewhere else to be when you go live. So we have, of course, our dear friend from Australia, Allie, right, Blair?
Mwah.
And Lorraine Kwai, who's been on the show, and Susan Winter, and I know, that was so much fun. And Deborah Oakland, who made it live here, honey, but can't join us in the green room. Kirsten Hancock, so exciting. Her product hit the airwaves and publicity waves in the UK today. Big, big day for her. Cherie Valentine, who watches when she cooks, Blair. How cool is that?
Hi, Cherie.
And Cynthia Bazin and Bob Barron and Tony Richards, who we love and adore in the leadership world, and Gail Harris. Oh my gosh, thank you, everybody. Thanks to the folks who showed up live. Thanks to those of you who are watching via replay. I'm so grateful that you tuned in, and so grateful that you have found the courage to be an entrepreneurial adventure. I am in awe and wonder of you. Thanks for joining us today, and I'll see you next week. Wishing you an Andelicious day. Mwah! Wave goodbye, Blair.
Bye, everybody.
Yay, thanks. Bye, folks.